So, good day everyone. So, for today's lesson, we have the introduction to literary genre. So, for our objectives for this module or lesson, we have the learning competencies. Number one, identify dominant literary conventions of a particular genre. Number two, compare and contrast how the elements are used in the different genres. For our learning targets, at the end of this lesson, you are expected to, number one, distinguish the major literary genres. Number two, compare and contrast the use of literary genres in some sample genres. Then, so first, let's recall the meaning of the literature. So what is literature? So according to Roth 2020, it defines that literature those imaginative works of poetry and prose distinguished by the intention of the author and the perceived aesthetic excellence of execution. So in other words, when we say literature, it is an art of words. So bakit ba an art of words? So bakit ba tinawag na art of words ang literature? Because we are creating an art using words. So we can create or we can share our feelings. We can share our thoughts using words, which is being considered as an art. Kasi nga, 'di ba? In a writing, nakakagawa tayo ng art, which is a word of art. So, hindi naman ibig sabihin na or hindi naman pwedeng sabihin na ang art ay dahil lang or those things na aesthetic lang. Yung nakikita lang natin like drawing, something like that. It isn't meant to be like that. So, ang arts ay those things that coming from a person. Yung mga ginagawa ng person. And writings are also coming from and being done by the person. Alright, so it is considered as an art. Okay, next. So what is genre? So when we say genre, it refers to a type of art, a literature, or music characterized by a distinct form, content, and style. So when we say genre, it is the type of literature or literary works that we use to read. So for example, the fiction, non-fiction, poetry, and drama. So those are literary genres. So yung mga binabasa natin, yung mga pinapanood natin in uh, in everyday. So kung ano-ano yung mga binabasa natin. Alright. So literary genres. Ano-ano nga ba yung apat na literary genres? The non-fiction, fiction, poetry, and drama. So let's have the first fiction. So when we say fiction, it refers to a literary works which comes from the author's imagination. Kapag sinabing imagination lang, hindi siya totoo. Hindi siya pwedeng mangyari. So in fiction, we have eight genres. So number one, we have a literary fiction. It refers to a literary works that artistic value and literary merit. So for example, this one, political criticism, social commentary, and reflections on humanity are most often the content of literary fiction. So pag sinabi natin literary fiction, ito yung pagbibigay ng opinion natin in one issue or isang bagay or isang pangyayari. So that is how literary fiction being written. So, Kasi 'di ba, when it comes to the opinionated or opinion um of someone, it is not the factual. So kaya consider siya as a fictitious. Okay, next, sa mystery. So also known as detective fiction. So doon pa lang makikita mo na and with the word detective fiction. So it means na meron kang i-resolve. There will be a a situation that you are going to resolve something using an investigation. So for example, this one is the Detective Conan. Kung alam niyo 'yon, and that is the most popular cartoon that we watch early 90s o 20s na. I mean, lahat naman siguro kayo related doon sa story ni Conan. So, sabi diyan, mystery often follows a plot with a detective as character. Okay, or someone playing detective and tries to resolve a case with a sprinkling of clues here and there. So giving the readers a feel for suspense creates anticipation and ultimate bears the truth. So pag sinabing mystery, that is commonly all about the resolution. So, hindi siya nagpo-focus sa ibang like romantic, something like that. It always go around the investigative theme. Okay. So, next, thriller and horror. It is the same thing. Pero when we say a thriller, the fiction type is characterized by dark, mysterious, and the suspenseful plot. So, how about the horror? Ano ba yung pinagkaiba nila? So, it is written to shock, startle, scare, and even repulse the readers. So, pag sinabi mong thriller, you're just going to think of mysterious thing. Dark, yes, that is also a horror movie, pero papaikutin niya or you are going to use your logical thinking and it suspense you. Tinatakot ka lang, something like that. It's just uses a thing na makakapag isip ka kung paano ba nangyari yan or paano ba nangyari yung isang scene na yan. How about the horror? So, pag naman sinabi mong horror, it scares you. Yung mga pelikula na Exorcist, something like that. That is a horror movie or a horror fiction. So, like ghosts, vampires, werewolves, witches, and monster. Yun yung mga usually character. Pero dun sa thriller, it can be a human. Pero, it included a ghost. Pero, or it just include a murder mystery, something like that. That suspense you while reading it or watching it. Okay. So next one is historical. So when it comes with historical, this type of fiction involves the creative use of research to be able to transport the readers to another time and place. So this time and place may be real, imagined, or combination of both. So some historical fiction may utilize characters who were historical figure and use real events in history. So this fiction story or fiction literature uses historical background. For example, it uses a setting na makikita sa history natin. Or for example, yung yung mga literature na it uses the real places like Baguio, something like that, and those movies na na ginagawa in a real setting. Pero it has an imaginative one or imaginative thing inside the story. So for example, the Aswang na movie. So kung titingnan nyo, the history of aswang in our country is being defined or being introduced on that particular movie. Pero, at the same time, yung pagiging imaginative ng isang writer or ng isang director, ng isang writer, ng isang movie, it seems like totoo ba talaga yung aswang? Kung makikita nyo, 'di ba, kung how the figures being created and being defined in the in the in the story. So parang hindi na siya katotohanan or it really can't believe na ganun ang itsura ng aswang and that's how aswang being described in a story. So next one is romance. So when it comes to romance, ito yung sobrang daming literature. So like for example, the Romeo and Juliet, the most um romantic story, romantic novel that ay romantic short story that we have. So, kung titingnan niyo, 'di ba, ayun ang theme. The only theme is a love story, a romantic love story. So, it is created with a light-hearted, oftentimes optimistic tone, and most often have a conclusion. Romantic fiction highlight a love story between people. So, yun, pag sinabi mong romantic fiction, that is all about the story between two person or two people na nagmamahalan ganyan, who loves each other, something like that. So like for example nga, Romeo and Juliet. So next one, we have that is science fiction. So ito sci-fi. Ito yung mga napapanood nyong Marvels, yung yung Spider-Man, Superman. So those are the sci fiction and the Transformer. Those movies, those stories that uses technology. Those are the sci fiction. So how about the realist literature? So when we say realist as literature, this type of fiction portrays a world very much like ours. So yung kwento nito is hango sa totoong setting that we have in a real life. So with all the elements, so as truthful as it can be, as it happened in a real world. So um, yung mga movies, yung mga stories na para bang it relates on us. It relates on what is happening on our world right now. So for example, yung ano yun? 2010 na movie ba yun? 2010 ba? Basta yung movie na it uh, it the, it gives us an information of what will happen on the future in the future. So, ano nga ba yung nangyayari, 'di ba? Ano yung mangyayari in the future? So, it happen if you are going to look back on that particular movie that I watched, I forgot kung 2010 nga ata yun. So, makikita mo kung gaano nangyayari talaga in a real world lahat ng nangyayari on that particular movie. But that is a fictitious movie. But it's just themed or it has just a genre which is a realist literature. So in fiction, we have also sub-genres. So ano-ano ba yung sub-genres of fiction? So we have short story. So when we say short story, it doesn't mean that it is just a one-page story. So it is a story with 1,000 to 20,000 words in total. So hindi porket sinabi natin short story, that is a short, a really short or a really brief in physical or in a creation. But it has or it composed of 1,000 to 20,000 words in total. So when we say short story, it is shorter in length than a novel. So pag sinabi mo kasing novel, it has um chapter by chapter kasi to. Hindi iisang plot lang ang meron. Pero when we say short story, it has only one plot and um it has only one central theme. Okay, so it aims at unity of effect and creation of a mood rather than a plot. Okay, so it focuses on one plot, it has one main character, and it has one central theme. Alright, so next one is a novel. So when we say novel, it is a narrative prose work on considerable length that talks about significant human experiment. So a novel is also characterized by the following. So number one, are written in prose form. So pag sinabi natin prose, it is written in paragraph. So pag sinabi nating poetry naman, it is written by lines and stanzas. So number two, considerable length or word count. Mahabang mahaba ang novel. So it is fictional content, it has fictional content and individualism. That is, it appeals to an individual audience as a reader rather than to a group. So, hindi kasi mahirap siyang basahin kung sama-sama kayo. Unlike sa isang short story, you can read it in a group. Pero pag sinabi mong novel, it cannot be or it can't be read in a group. So, kailangan pag binasa mo siya, nag-iisa ka lang or you are um, in a quiet place na makakapag-focus kasi nga sobrang haba ng novel. So, for example, this novel is The Tale of Genji by Murasaki Shikibu. So, it is written in early 17th century. So, European novel siya. So, when it comes to novel, it cannot be read in just one sitting. Unlike sa short story. You can read short story in just one sitting, but in terms of novel, you cannot read it in just one sitting. Alright, next. So, myth. So, example of this is the Greek mythology. Zeus, Athena, the goddesses and goddess and gods. Goddesses and gods. So, when it comes to myth, it derives from the Greek mythos, which has a range of meaning from word through saying and story to fiction. So a myth is a symbolic narrative of unknown origin and tells events which are partly traditional and associated with religious belief. So kung saan yung pinagmulan, that is a myth. Okay, so myths are specific accounts with gods and human beings as characters involved in extraordinary events and circumstances in a time that is specified, but which is understood as existing apart from ordinary human experience. So pag sinabi nating mythology, it has a relation with legend and fable. Kung saan ano yung pinagmulan ng isang bagay. Ano tong pinagmulan kung saan nanggaling si Jesus, kung sino yung naging asawa ni Jesus, kung sino yung sino yung tatay ni Jesus, something like that, saan hinugot si Jesus. Something like that. Those are the myths. Okay. So it always involves a religious belief, a partly tradition, or yung mga origin ng mga unknown things or unknown person. So next, so the last one will be the legend fable. So when we say the legend is the traditional tale which is thought to have historical basis. So ito namang legend, is the traditional tale. So kung saan the legend of Sarimanok, something like that, um the legend of Maganda and Makisig, something like that. So those are the legends. So kung ano yung pinagmulan ng isang bagay or ng isang tao. The Legend of Maria Makiling, something like that. And then, the next one is the fable. Ito namang fable, it is usually um, ang characters niya ay animals. Okay, instead of using the characters of human, it uses animal characters to portray a character. So, hindi siya usually gumagamit ng tao. So, it also explicit moral message. So at the end of the story, there will be a moral lesson provided. So, the concept of the time and space is also not specific in a fable. So, those are the subgenres of fiction. So, next meeting, we are going to discuss the continuation of the literary genre. So, we have three left genres. Alright, so uh, after you watch this one, kindly go to your Google Classroom and do the activity. Thank you so much and have a nice day.